Good evening. Welcome to Thank God It's Friday. It's a beautiful Friday evening. Another time to hang with me as we enjoy relationship wisdom. I am Dr. Chucks Ugoihe. Tonight, we are continuing from where we stopped last week, and we are having Love Through the Ages. Love Through the Ages. Love Through the Ages is the edition of Thank God It's Friday where we bring couples who have been married for 20 years and above to share their story, to tell us their testimony, for us to ask them questions on what has helped them get to where they are and all that kind of stuff. And we are having an awesome time already. Last week, we started with this couple. We enjoyed having them. They are the senior pastors of a church in Akure in Nigeria. Their church is called Rest House Christian Center, and they are both medical doctors. They were our guests last week, and we started the conversation last week, and we're going to continue today. Last week, we had them tell the story of how they met, how the relationship started, and how they got married. By the way, this month of March, they're 21 years married. So they really qualified to talk to us and share their testimony with us. But before I bring them on, I want to tell you that from the 5th of April, after Easter, the Friday after Easter, we are going to be having Thank God It's Friday on site at our venue at Chapel at NTC. 195A College Road in Mudas Drift off Bears Nadia. So tonight, it's my joy and pleasure to welcome again to Thank God This Friday, Dr. Stanley Orji and his wife, Dr. Mrs. Eloho Orji. Good people, wonderful people, welcome. Thank you for obliging us your time and your wisdom and your anointing to be here again. We are happy to have you. Let's get on with the show. God bless you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pastor. It's good to be here.
All right. We're going to continue our conversation. The last episode, we were talking about your journey from when you first met to when the approval was given. The parents agreed.
Yeah.
The 5 years of waiting, pressing in, trusting God. It was quite a very inspiring story, I must say, for you guys. So now, let's pick it up from there. The family has agreed. Daddy says, give me 2 months to organize myself, and then we will talk about your wedding. So let's pick it up from there. What happened from there going forward? And when did the wedding happen?
Okay, what I remember was that.
You can't forget, too.
No. Because so he says, give me 2 months or so. Mm-hmm. Of course, it didn't turn out to be 2 months. I think it's extended a little bit beyond that. But something happened. I think 2003 was a transition year.
Okay.
It was a transition year, civilian to civilian. Yes, I remember. So I remember just about that time he called me and said, look, we are doing this civilian to civilian thing. We don't know how it's going to turn out. So I think we should just have this wedding thing before the elections. So when he said that, of course, I didn't have money. I wasn't quite prepared yet. So I remember going to my pastor and telling my pastor was involved in all the waiting. And
okay.
So I went and told pastor, look at what my in-laws said, and I don't have money. Pastor said, we don't need to have money. I should just print the card. I told him I don't even have money to print cards. So he gave me money then, 10,000 naira, if I remember correctly, to go and print the cards. So that was how we just went and printed the cards with dates and everything, although we did not have the money to do the wedding. But once we printed the cards, things just began to happen. And that's essentially from the principle we have followed all through our marriage, that we just begin to go. When something needs to be done, we just take the steps and just watch it materialize.
Take the first step.
Yeah, we just take the first step, and we judge that there's a powerful principle in starting, whatever it is. And we can tell you stories, both in ministry and in our lives, that once something comes to our hearts and we believe it's God's will, what we just do is that we just take the first step. Once we take the first step, everything just shapes up. So that's what we did with our marriage, and that's what we've done with our business. That's how we've run our ministry. You know, we just take the first step. We just never wait for everything to be complete.
All right.
Yeah.
And so the wedding date was fixed, cards were printed,
Yeah.
and then the wedding happened. Tell us about the wedding.
Do you remember the other reaction?
Well, the wedding was in 2 locations.
Okay.
Because, yeah, the traditional was in my village in Emevo in Delta State. I think that was February 29th.
Okay.
And then the wedding proper was in Port Harcourt, March 8th.
So like 2 successive weekends.
Yes.
And I was living in Akure, which was another state, and she was serving in Enugu, which was another place. So I was living in the west, she was living in the east.
And the wedding was in South-South.
Was in the South-South. 2 different states in the South-South.
Oh, wow.
And if I remember correctly, there was biting fuel scarcity in that period.
It was at
so
the heart of
there was a lot of
West
things that were, but
This is 2003.
yes, 2003.
Okay. And then, so the traditional wedding happened
In the village.
And in the village, everything went well.
Yes, it was
And then
fine.
the church wedding.
Church wedding.
All right, so let's talk about that. A lot of people are not taking the step towards getting married. I have seen it a lot because they're waiting for money to be complete. They don't have everything together, and because of it, they are stalling. So they have a fiance. I mean, you have a partner. You have
Who is ready?
Yeah, who is ready? You are basically ready to go, except that the pocket is not ready to follow. What advice do you give to people who are in that position where you found somebody, you are both happy with each other, you want to marry, but now your pocket is not agreeing? What is your advice to such people? What should they do?
We have a principle because I pastor, I do relationship, I do premarital. Mm-hmm. There are basically 30 things you need if you want to get married.
Yes.
You need a person.
The person to get married
to. Get married to.
Yes, that's the first
Very
important.
important.
You need a house.
Yes, okay.
And you need a job.
All right.
Now, when I say job, I usually like to qualify it. Any job.
You need an income.
Any job at all.
Okay.
Any kind of income.
Yes.
There is no minimum, there is no ceiling.
I hear.
Any income.
Okay.
Reason is, and I have proven this, I have wedded people under this circumstance. That is what I teach.
Okay.
Okay? Because if 2 adults are old enough to get married, they are in love with each other. I always say, for those of us who subscribe to Christian standards, the rule is that until you're married, you are not qualified to be sexually involved. Okay?
Yes.
Now
but the Bible does not allow you to do that.
That's right. So, but it is also difficult for you to be in love and not make love. There's a pressure.
Very serious, yes.
So I think it doesn't make sense for you to be stretching 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. Say you're waiting for money, and then all this fire is burning. So if you have the person you want to marry, you have a job and you have a house, just go ahead and marry. I mean, the monies and the budgets really a lot of them don't have anything to do with the marriage itself.
I hear you.
These are just social things.
I hear you.
You understand me? So because I tell people, when you get another thing, especially in our own culture, in our own society, that people worry about is when I get married, my expenses will increase. It's not true.
Yes.
If you plan marriage well, when you get married, your expenses will reduce.
That's right.
You understand?
Because now 2 of you are paying 1 rent, not 2 rents.
Yes. You
Exactly.
are paying, everything is now 1.
Yes, you are cooking in 1 pot, not 2 pots.
So the expenses will reduce. And when we started this thing years ago, people didn't believe it was true. But when we started, it's not. You see, what happens is that, again, I don't know how it is here, but back in Nigeria, people begin to worry about in-laws, worry about relatives. But what brings in-laws to your house most times is when you have a baby.
Yes.
So which is why part of what we also do as part of premarital counseling is family planning advice.
Yes.
The rule is that except the lady is 35 and above, we strongly advise people not to start a family after getting married.
Immediately.
Immediately, that's right.
Except if they're ready.
Except if they are not just financially ready. Even if they are financially ready, we usually encourage them to take a year.
Okay.
Reason being that if you've not been sexually intimate, the last thing you want is your wife to get pregnant in the first month of marriage. It will disrupt your life.
Okay.
Okay.
Doctor is speaking.
No, I'm not. I'm also talking from experience. I'm also talking from experience. So you need time to blend. You need time to. You understand what I mean?
Bond.
Yes.
Grow into each other, bond. You don't want a pregnant, vomiting woman that's just been 3 months in marriage. You'll be confused. It happened to me, so I know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But please, before we get to that part, I just really want to say that when it comes to marriage, marriage is a good thing. And it's a time.
Say it again.
When it comes to
It's a good
wedding,
thing.
marriage, is a good thing. And a lot of people are celebrating with you. And most times, if you have sown a seed, those are the times that people want to reward. They want to sow. So by the time you just announced your wedding and you're someone that been in church, you've been involved. This one say, okay, I want to pick up the cake. I want to pick up the gown. I want to do this. My house is available for your guests.
That is if you have been sowing.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
That's what she's saying.
So if you have not been sowing, don't expect to reap.
Sorry.
That's what she's saying.
Because a lot of people, they just maintain their space. They wouldn't go for other people's wedding. When it's their time, of course, nobody will want to come for your wedding.
What you sow is what you reap.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly. Because that's the time people want to bless you.
Yes. All right. So I totally subscribe to what you just said. I have seen this in pastoring in this country for the few years that I've been pastoring here. It's been a big issue where people are ready. The man is ready, the woman is ready, but the pocket is not ready. And Satan uses that situation to give them an excuse. We are not ready financially. And they now get into sexual sin.
Start making babies.
They are not even, some people are not even convinced that they should not have sex. So they start living as husband. In fact, some people move in and they start living together and say, after all, we are going to get married and so on. Well, let's say this. From the Bible, you are not expected to start having sexual intimacy before you are officially conferred the status of husband and wife. You are not supposed to. Moving in together, living together before marriage is wrong according to the word of God. It is not biblically encouraged. It's sin. Let's call it what it is. So I want to encourage you, do not let money become the reason why you go into sin. In fact, I have said it to many people and I've done it. Where I say, okay, you know what? The minimum you need to get married is the marriage officer, the husband or the groom, the bride, and 2 witnesses. In South Africa, that's 5 people.
You know, it's right.
That's what it is here. The groom, the bride, 1 witness from the groom side, 1 witness from the bride side, and the officiating minister, 5. So you can do a Nando's 4-piece meal for 250 rand for that to happen. You can go to KFC and buy a streetwise 3 times 5. That will cost you somewhere under 500 rand.
And you get married.
And you get married. And it is marriage before God. It's accepted. It's not the 500 people that showed up at the wedding or the 5,000 people that makes it a marriage. No. What makes it a marriage is actually the 2 of you, and then by the requirements of the law, the witnesses and the marriage officer who officiates the joining and the marriage register is signed. That a marriage has happened. So don't let money become the reason why you live in sin, because you are waiting for money to come, and now it's 6 months, it's 1 year, it's 5 years. I even know cases where, this couple were living together for 17 years. They never did it. They never did the wedding.
They're waiting for money.
Yeah, initially, that's why it was. So now, 2 babies have shown up.
He won't see any reason to go and
do it anymore.
Because there's nothing he's missing. There's
In
nothing
fact, when they
he's
were coming to
looking forward
church, you know, I thought there were people who were married
Family.
because they will come together, you know. I don't know how it came out one day. I think I asked a question, you know, how did you guys get married? They said, no, we're not. I'm like, what do you mean you're not? They say we're not married. I said, neither traditionally, nor by the state, nor by the church. He said that we've not done it. All right, let's talk about this issue of the 3 levels of marriage, or 3 dimensions of getting married. I know that in many countries, especially here in South Africa, there is recognized church marriage, or what believers call spiritual marriage. Some people call it white wedding. All right? So that's one type. Then there is customary marriage, and that involves your parents and your people. You know, I'm going to come back to it. And then there is marriage at the marriage registry, or court marriage. Or, you know, some countries will set up a marriage registry where people go there and, you know, exchange vows, and there's a marriage officer approved by the state to officiate the ceremony. Now, these 3 types are critical and important. Now, I know that according to the laws of this country, one of them is enough. So if you did customary marriage, the law recognizes you as being married, because you can submit the things that came from the customary marriage to Home Affairs, and your marriage will be registered as customary marriage, and you are married. All right. Now, when I got married, I did all 3. Okay? We went and registered our marriage at the marriage registry. We got married traditionally, or customary marriage, when our parents and our relatives and, you know, our families were there. For us, it happened the same day. It happened early in the morning. We did the customary marriage, and then later in the afternoon at 1 o'clock, we proceeded to do the white wedding. There are many reasons why, if you can do all 3, there are many reasons why. There is issue of conscience, right? And fulfilling all righteousness. So you got married traditionally, so your family was involved. They gave their blessing. You got married at church. Your church was involved. Your spiritual parents, your church community were involved. They gave their blessing. Then you got married at court. The state recognized your marriage and issued you a marriage certificate. If it's possible to do all 3, you do it. Then the devil has no space to suggest that you are not married. Because sometimes, you know, things happen in life, you know, and the enemy can start questioning, are you sure that you are married properly? Are you sure that, you know, this marriage is authentic? And people do stupid things because, you know, one or a few of these were not followed. I've seen people who were married in church, but because they had issues with their parents and they didn't get married traditionally with their parents, but they got married in church. Now, you know, Satan begins to say, even through their family, we don't recognize your marriage. We don't, you know, and then they succumb to it. They begin to agree with it. Yet, the body of Christ, the authority of the church, conferred them husband and wife. I've seen scenarios like that, you know, where people were conferred husband and wife, and then, you know, they face pressure from the family and all of that. All right. I've also seen cases where, you know, a couple wanted to get married, and the father says, I will not be part of it. Why? Because the person that the daughter wants to marry, the father doesn't like the person, doesn't like the race of the person, you know. But because these people were determined to have the blessing of their parents, even on the day of the wedding, in fact, I was the one officiating the wedding. On the day of the wedding, 5 minutes before the wedding started, the father changed his mind and said, I will walk you down the aisle. I will give my blessing. I will, you know, and the father I got a note just as I was about to start the ceremony. I got a note, Pastor, please can you wait? My father has agreed to walk me down the aisle and he's about to dress up. I said, wonderful. This is what we've been praying for. So I turned to the band and said, give us more music. And the band played for another 15, 20 minutes to give the father enough time to get ready, dress up, and then walk the daughter to the aisle. Because according to the culture of this view, they don't have traditional marriage. So I needed the family, I needed the father and the mother and the parents and members of the family on both sides to agree to this, that, you know, that they are consenting to their children getting married. And God made it happen on the wedding day. God made it happen on the wedding day. So if you come from a culture where, you know, I know like some people in South Africa, they don't have customary marriage. White people don't have customary marriage. They do church wedding. I think even colored people don't have customary marriage. They do church wedding. So in those cases, we need the parents to show their approval of the marriage. They need to be at the ceremony at the church marriage if they don't have customary marriage. But black people generally, there is customary marriage. Here it's called lobola. I know you have to do it. There's even another one they call members or something like that. You know, but yeah, the cultures of black people have, you know, the proceedings they take. So if it's possible to do all three, please do it. You know, this is one of the things that I teach the people that I prepare for marriage. Listen, you can do the traditional marriage. If between your traditional marriage and the church wedding is more than 3 weeks, once you do the traditional marriage, in other words, there is this exchange of gifts and the families give their blessing, I always advise and I insist that we will do the registry, the church, the court, the marriage registry of the state, because that requires only 2 witnesses and anybody can be witness. It doesn't have to be the parents. So if your church wedding is going to be more than 2-3 weeks from the traditional wedding, on the day of the traditional wedding or before the day of the traditional wedding, we will go to the marriage registry and register your marriage and get you married by the state and then issue you a marriage certificate. Then you can proceed to live as husband and wife after that traditional wedding, because now traditional wedding has happened, state recognition has happened. So now you have a marriage certificate from the state, you have customary approval from your parents and family, then you can go ahead and live as husband and wife. When you are ready to do the church wedding, it will no longer be solemnization of holy matrimony. It will now become marriage blessing or blessing of marriage. So on that day, we will bless your marriage in the church and it is recognized. I really advocate that if you can do all three, if your culture does not have all three, at least the 2, church wedding and registry, let your parents be involved. Let somebody from your family, somebody who represents your mom or your dad, be involved to give their consent so that your marriage, you know, 2 years down the road, your family cannot say, we don't recognize that man. We don't recognize that man, you know, and just for conscience sake and then for, you know, to silence the accuser. The Bible talks about the accuser of the brethren. To silence the accuser who will want to foment trouble somewhere along the line. All right, something else I want to touch on before I come back to my guest. No, it's really important that we say this. Listen, no man is an island. It's important that you become part of the community of saints, people of God. Be a part of the church. Don't act like I don't need anybody. I come when I want to and all that. Listen, the problem with that is when you now want to get married, this is the time that people support you. People travel with you. People go far. People give you gifts. People, give you money. People do things to help you in your wedding. But if you have never been part of a community, it's terrible. You will, come to that day and there's nobody to support you. And it actually says a lot about your life that, your in-laws see you come alone or see you come with 3 or 4 people. And they're wondering, where is your world? You don't have a world because you never assimilated. It's important that you are part of a community, especially for us Christians. Be part of a spiritual community. Plug into the church where you are worshiping. It doesn't matter whether it's a Catholic church or a Methodist church or a Presbyterian church or a Protestant church or charismatic church, charismatic. It doesn't matter. Plug into that place and be part of what is happening. You know, and I've also seen people abuse this principle where, you know, they strategically position, okay, we're going to get married in June. So in April, they plug into the church. They become active. They are sweeping the church. I've seen a couple do it in our church. You know, just before their wedding, they joined. They are in every service, you know, and you thought, oh, these are new members. These are part of us. The moment we got them married, they disappeared. That is terrible. They disappeared. So basically, they used the church. So, you know, human beings are funny. They are always human beings. So, but be part of a community. Plug in. Serve. When other people are getting married, instead of being angry, contribute to their wedding. Be deliberate about it. You know, there's a wisdom statement by a wise man. It says, what you make happen for others, God will make happen for you. So when people are getting married, buy them gifts, contribute, give them money. Be there for them. Volunteer to help them drive a car. You know, there's so much running around, especially 2 or 3 days to the wedding. Volunteer, you know, whatever you need. My car is here. I've fueled my car. I can do the run for you. I can go and fetch this there, pick up flowers there, contact the baker there, contact, you know, the drinks person. I can do that for you. And you make yourself available to serve a few days to the wedding. Those are different things that you can relieve a burden for people who are getting married. And guess what? When you've sown these seeds, they are registered in heaven. When it is your turn to get married, God will raise you help from everywhere. God will raise you help from everywhere. It's not a stupid thing to, you know, accompany a couple that is getting married to travel to another town, to another city for maybe traditional wedding or for part of meeting the parents or whatever. You know, it's important that you be part of a community, contribute to that community, help people in that community so that when it is your turn, you know, people will help you. Pastor, I need you to contribute to this subject. You know, I know as a pastor there is quite a lot that you can tell us regarding this subject. Please, let's hear your thoughts, sir.
Speaking as a pastor, because recently we had a young man. He's been in church for a while, but normally because the cell system, they will always announce, say, look, please join a cell group. Make sure you attend because the cell group is like
it's your business.
It's a diluted platform for interaction. People know you better, you know, and all of that. But he just was kind of too busy to do that. So fine, when his wedding came, he came to me, tell me about his wedding. In fact, before he even, because they had asked him in the church where he was marrying a young lady from in another state. Do you have a church? He said, yes. So the pastor called me. The reverend gentleman called me and asked me, okay, so this and so person, like they say in Nigeria, said he's your son. You know, so do you know him? I said, well, yeah, I do. I know him. Then said, how is he? I said, he's okay. He's okay. So he asked me, are you coming? I said, no, that it's not our culture for me to attend weddings elsewhere. So he said, so is somebody coming to represent you? I wasn't expecting that. I said, okay, we're a bit busy in church right now, but I'll work on it. Just give me till Saturday. Now, I did that because I'm a pastor. What I would ordinarily do if it was just, you understand me? Because what I've learned as a pastor is deal with people beyond this event. Well, he's about to get married. They are going to need stability. There's going to be another person involved. So whatever it is that has not worked until now, you are giving yourself a second opportunity to work on it when they are now a couple. So what I now did was that I called him and told him, look at what's happening. I said, if you were in a cell group,
members of your cell group
would have supported you. I said, normally church doesn't even get involved, except your wedding in church. Normally that's a cell group issue. And then if you belong to a department, between your cell group and your departments, and then
that's 20 or 30
your
people
friends
right
in
there.
church, you have a lot of people coming. I said, but the way it is, You're on your own. You don't have anybody that is going to come. As this reverend gentleman has asked, and it will be very nice that you are being wedded and nobody is coming from your church. So how I went, and he knew it was a real problem. I needed to emphasize it. But I spoke with where the cell group he's supposed to belong to that he has never attended, and they've been reaching out to him. And I called the coordinator and said, please, this is what's going on.
Please help us.
This man is, that when he gets wedded, when they get married, they're going to be a couple, and they're likely to be an addition to your cell.
Please.
So would you
offer them help by
sow the seed?
Make a deposit by
so
faith.
Thank God, a very mature gentleman there who is part of the leadership in church volunteered to go.
Okay.
So I told him, okay, this is what we're going to do. The church is going to support you. Okay. Another brother who was planning his wedding around that time, they were in Ibadan, which was the city this wedding was taking place, to do the shopping for the wife. I think the wedding dress or something. They went to fit it. So because he was there, so he now went and connected with this other brother. So there were two of them in church, and they were very happy. And once this gentleman came back with his wife, and my wife was just talking about the wife the other day, the way they hit church, as in, they just joined department, joined cell group, and got very active. So that's how it works.
So there's a lesson right there. You can't be an island. You can't live in isolation, do your own thing. You will need people.
Oh, yes.
So as a single person, as you're preparing for married life, get involved in community. Be part of where God has planted you. The last thing before we end this episode today. All right, so you guys came through the wedding. Tell us about the arrival of your first baby.
Okay.
And
story.
Yes.
Tell the story.
Okay. You know, I was a doctor. I just finished youth service, so I wasn't planning on getting married. Having a baby immediately.
Okay.
Okay. So
I wanted us to do this thing I just said.
And I wanted to write exam.
Okay.
Because on my wedding day was one exam I couldn't write, so I was planning the next one. But fortunately for us,
not unfortunately.
Fortunately, yes.
After my wedding night, I never saw my period again.
Oh my!
So the baby
you scored on the first night. Wow.
And I was not happy. I was angry. I wasn't prepared. We were not prepared. Though I wasn't a young person because I married at 29.
Okay.
So of course, but then because I had my plans and all of that, but we learnt on the job.
Yeah.
And it was now that was one of the most, for me it was an initiation into matrimony. That wasn't part of the plan at all.
Okay.
And I didn't know, I wasn't expecting it. We made some arrangements, but I guess Uche was just determined to come. You know.
Okay.
So when I noticed that, I didn't even know period was missing or anything. But when I noticed that she was just acting a bit funny, I was like, what's wrong with this girl? No, you just went and married a fine girl. You didn't want And then the next thing, within a month or so, oh my God, she began to vomit. That was... And so here I wasn't psychologically prepared for that phase of marriage. I wasn't. Incidentally, where I was working, our accommodation was inside.
Okay.
So I just needed to step out of my flat. I step into my office.
Okay.
Where I was working. So what I will now do is early in the morning, I just tiptoe. I will take my bath. And I just get dressed quietly while she's still sleeping. I'll just go to the office and I will stay there. I will just stay there until late in the night. I will just sneak back. Because I just could not cope with the person she had just become. You know, she would just lie down there. She would just, oh dear. So
from
this
morning till night.
From what it was just, I guess it was. I guess it was.
I was not just myself.
Oh, first trimester issues.
First trimester issues, I guess, plus the little depression involved. It was serious. So what now happened, and this was the lesson I might take away from that particular experience. So after some weeks, I think, our relationship just frosted over. I mean, we were not talking. I was just confused. So what I did was to avoid. Just avoid her. So one day I came back, I sneaked back in, did my thing. Normally I would wait until she had gone to bed. So I came out and just quietly crawled into bed. And I was just about to sleep off. And I was hearing somebody sobbing. It was as if, like you are in your dream. I said, somebody crying. I was like, between sleep and wakefulness. Then it now dawned on me that it was my wife that was crying. And I was concerned. I said, what's the matter? And now tapped her. She wasn't sleeping. She just turned. I said, what's the matter? Are you okay? Are you okay? And she said something. This is more than 20 years ago. She said, I am missing you. When she said, I am missing you. My razor sharp mind just analyzed the situation and what I had put her through. And I was broken. I was so sorry. I was so sorry. But by the next morning, trust me, I had the mop and the mopping bucket. I was reporting for duty. I was waiting for her to vomit. So and trust me, she vomited. Those days, I guess there's some skill you develop after a while in this vomiting thing. Those days she would vomit. She didn't go to the toilet. She would just get up and just vomit on the curtain somewhere else. So but wherever she vomited, I was ready. I just took responsibility.
Wow, this is why I love Through the Ages. Well, if you're just joining us, we are on Love Through the Ages, where we talk to couples and hear their story and their journey. We are on part 2 of that journey. We talked about life before the wedding, and then the wedding, and now the first baby. And there's a lot to learn, just listening to people, because you may be in a situation like that where, a blessing came. The baby is a blessing, but you are not ready. And, you're hearing from them the adjustments they had to make and the things they had to do to accommodate.
We did not decide to abort the baby.
No, but
that's an option a lot of people would embrace quickly.
When you're married.
Yes, but when you're not ready,
married
especially
people,
when they are not ready.
A lot of married people. I mean, we are doctors. People do it. They just
really?
Terminate the pregnancy.
Wow. God have mercy. God forbid.
You say that.
Your own baby.
But that happens.
Yeah. Okay. But thank God for them. I met that child when I visited them in Akure.
Yeah.
Thank God for them. They had to make the adjustments that they needed to make and welcome their first bundle of joy. And we thank God for you guys and thank God for His help even to stabilize the marriage in those early days and, the baby coming through before you were quite ready for it. One of the things that when we didn't have a child on time. Okay, so when we were ready for the baby didn't come. So it was 7 years that we had to believe God and pray. So I remember when my wife was confirmed pregnant, I became very uncomfortable, asking myself, am I ready to be a father? Do I have what it takes to father somebody? Do we have the financial wherewithal, and so on. So there was a bit of anxiety. And I remember there was an older man that had become my friend. We're just, we're in South Africa then. We're just been 2 years or 3 years in the country. And this brother, I started asking questions, how to be a father and so on and so forth, because he had 3 grown children at the time. So he said, let's go. So he took me out for a breakfast, and he began to talk to me. That brother, God bless him, because he said a few things. He said, once a child is born, a father is also born.
That's powerful.
Once a child is born, a father
is also born.
So don't stress yourself about being ready to be a father. It's the birth of the child that confers the birth of a father. And you will meet up. God will help you. And he really encouraged me.
And motherhood as well.
Yes, exactly. Once a child is born, a mother is born.
Is also born.
So don't stress yourself trying to, just take it as it comes. And, he shared a few things with us that really helped us. We prayed over the baby every day in the womb. Then I did the visit to the hospital where the baby is going to be born. I did that drive like 3 times to be ready. So that if waters broke in the middle of the night, I know the way. Yeah, I did it 3 times. Drove there, get to the hospital, make a U-turn, drive back.
That's so interesting.
That's very rehearsal.
No, I did 3 times. 3 times because we were registered. My son was born in Pretoria. We were registered in a hospital in Pretoria. So I had to do that route 3 times just to be familiar with the road. So because I don't want any story that baby is born in the car or something, you know. So I did all of that, and God helped us, you know, because we prayed even for the nurses that will be on duty on the day that the baby will be born.
That's the way to do it.
We spoke, we declared it, and God, you know, had His way, and it was such a beautiful experience for us. So if you're here and you're listening and you're in that stage, there's a lot to learn. We would like to take your questions. There's that number on the screen there, +2762 520 2020. Send us your questions and we will try and address them at the next episode. Please do send your questions. I'm going to try and round up for this episode today. Your parting words for this stage. Then we're going to talk about the next stage.
Okay, well, like we've said, marriage is a wonderful thing. I like to call marriage the crown of creation because the Bible says it was after God created on the 6th day. The Bible says He looked at everything and said that it was very good. If you notice before then, He would say it was good, it was good.
Yes.
But after marriage, which was like the icing on the cake. In fact, I used to call it God's brightest idea. You know, He said it was very good. So it's a good thing. God doesn't make mistakes. So if you get to that point in life where you're ready and you're willing to marry, well, willing, because ready can be relative. All right, just go ahead. If you are old enough, as I said, if you have a house and you have a job, because you need a job to get married, okay, go ahead and get married, and God would help you.
Amen. Dr. Mrs.
Okay, like we said about marriage, relationship is key. It's very important. We have said that humans are clothing for us. So you need you need your pastor to guide you, and then you need people in church to help you with the planning. They are all important. So let's not live in isolation as we get planned for wedding. Let's talk to people that have been there before. Even having children, also you need people to rally around you because sometimes it can be difficult, sometimes going to the market, doing the basic thing. But when you have people around you, incidentally, I happened to have a set of twins. When I had them, I had so many people come, offer themselves. I want to do this for you. Because human relationship is so key, and you cannot underestimate the importance and the power of relationship, especially good relationships. Awesome.
Well, thank you very much. Our time is up for this episode. We'll wrap it up. And then at our next episode, I want us to start with talking about how important is premarital counseling. All right, we'll start our next episode on that note. But for tonight, thank you so much. We are grateful for your input and your wisdom and your story.
Thank you,
your
Pastor.
story. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Pastor. Thank you for having us.